talked about the taxes, but we have the ACA program where we can get health insurance.
Yeah.
Anyone that doesn't have health insurance, give us a call. We have a Medicaid Ombudsman program that runs out of Pisgah.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of Hollercast. I am Chase, and we're so glad you're here. Josh, we got another great guest. We've been trying to get these people in here for a minute.
I'm tickled to death, man. I really am. We have two amazing guests. We're going to get to them in just a minute, but first, let's thank our sponsor. And we have to take a second to thank our very first sponsor, Big Al's Pack and Ship. Big Al, we want to thank you so much. We're so grateful for you taking a chance on us, believing in what we're doing, and we really hope that we can work together for many years to come. Big Al's Pack and Ship can handle all of your shipping needs, from just dropping off a package to full-service shipping, U-Haul rental, and more. Big Al's ships out DHL, UPS, and FedEx, and offers great service at affordable rates.
Big Al's is located off of Roan Road in downtown Spruce Pine and is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And we want to thank him again. We appreciate you. Get out there and support him.
All right, everybody, welcome back. So, we have two amazing guests today. We have two people from Pisgah Legal Services joining us today. So, we have Maxine and Patricia. Maxine, we'll start with you. You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Maxine McLaughlin. I am a regional program director at Pisgah Legal Services, working in the new HEOP program, which stands for Health and Economic Opportunity Program.
All right, and Patricia?
And I am Patricia Casey, and I am the office manager for our locations in Avery, Mitchell, and Yancey counties. I also am a legal assistant, and I do outreach.
Awesome.
Nice. It's so great to have you guys here. I was, I've been really curious about Pisgah Legal for a long time. Like I said before, we were talking before we started here. I had a friend of mine that was kind of falling on some hard times, and I recommended, that was when, I guess it was probably still just in Asheville at that point. This was 10 years ago, probably. And speaking of which, I did not know that you guys had been around as long as you have. 40 years, I heard on the video.
45. 45 years this year. Pisgah Legal was started in 1978.
Wow. That's 45. Crazy.
Yep.
Gosh.
So this has been a long-standing need in our community.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
I think that suffice it to say. I know one thing that stuck out with me when I heard, and I don't know that I'd ever really thought about this, but, in a criminal matter, you have the right to be appointed attorney in a criminal matter in court. You do not have that same right in a civil matter, even if it's somebody suing you. Right?
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is really cool. So, why don't you just give us a general rundown of what all Pisgah Legal offers, what the services are? I know, Maxine, you said you got some new services that you want to talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
And let's get into that. But what was the genesis? What's the foundational services that you guys offer? Where did it all start, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Basically, it started with a need for legal services for people in trouble that were unable to get those services. We do domestic violence for people that have basic needs or are struggling, or we do a lot of 50Bs, which is protection orders. We do a lot.
So like restraining orders?
Correct.
Yeah, gotcha.
We do divorces. We do separation agreements. We help with housing if they have housing insecurity or food insecurities. We do some immigration. We actually do a lot of immigration work. We have some pro bono attorneys that work through our office that handle some estate planning.
Yeah. So Pisgah started kind of as, there was a need for low-income families and low-income households that just didn't have accessible, they couldn't access legal services. And that was kind of the whole purpose, is to everybody, regardless of their income, should have access to legal representation. And that's
And I don't know if anybody's had to hire an attorney lately. It's not cheap.
it is
Let me
not
tell you.
cheap. No, absolutely not.
And everybody loves attorney's fees.
Oh yeah. Well, I had no idea. I just assumed that if you couldn't afford an attorney for a civil matter or for anything other than criminal, you were just kind of screwed. Like, I had no clue y'all existed. So, like I keep saying, every episode I learned so much. I'm so glad y'all are there for people who need it.
We help a lot of people with evictions. Sometimes they just don't know what their rights are, and they'll leave that property and become homeless. With
Gosh,
their
how many
children.
times have you heard of that happen?
Several times. We've had a recent case that one of our attorneys handled, and it was an 84-year-old woman that was going to become homeless, as she was unable to pay her rent. She was a victim of fraud with her bank, and our attorney stepped in, renegotiated her rent, and she was able to stay in her home. So what they do is huge.
Yeah.
They also help if the home goes into foreclosure. They can offer legal advice. They can, there's so much they can do to help that situation.
Do they offer bankruptcies?
We do not.
Okay,
We do not do bankruptcy, and we do not do criminal law.
Okay.
And
No custody,
no traffic,
unless it involves domestic violence.
Gotcha.
correct.
What else? There also is. So Pisgah Legal is a nonprofit. So just to clarify, a lot of people will ask us, how much do you charge? We're free. All of our
That's
services
awesome.
are free.
Wow.
So we do not charge anybody anything, not for any of our services.
As long as they're under the poverty level,
If they
which
qualify.
is 125% of the poverty level.
Gotcha.
Okay, so they have to be 125% under the poverty level. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Or through the Mountain Violence Protection Project, it is 187%.
Gotcha.
Or have a basic need. If there's,
Right.
if there's a child that's in danger and it's a situation like that, then we can step in.
Sure.
Gotcha. Understood. So, what is the poverty level in North Carolina right now? Is it by state?
That's a good question. I don't know. I could probably look that up real quick if you don't have it handy. Let's see.
This has 133% is 18,075.
That's for one person.
That's
Yeah.
for one individual.
For one person.
individual.
Yeah. Now, and I will say that every one of the programs are slightly different. So the income limit does change based on what program the person needs or wants to apply for.
Gotcha. Understood.
So, and even if, sometimes even if we can't, like if the attorneys can't take on a specific case, they still can answer questions or, just give general advice, or even if it's a service that we don't offer in that specific county or that specific area, then sometimes we can send them to another agency that offers that service.
Gotcha.
Great. That's really cool. So, so you guys work in Spruce Pine specifically. So let's tell people where you guys are at. So, because I didn't even know this, I thought the closest office to us was in Burnsville before we just sit down here. So you guys have an office in Spruce Pine now, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So we actually, Pisgah Legal has 19 offices, and we're in all of the western 18 counties. So we go all the way from Burke County all the way to Cherokee County in western North Carolina.
Wow.
Some of our services are limited depending on what county you live in, but in Mitchell County, we offer all of our services in Mitchell County.
And you guys have how many attorneys working in there? I thought you said there was 3, is that right, that cover Yancey and Mitchell, is that right?
I work for 2 of our attorneys, which are basically housed out of our Burnsville office, but they also cover Avery and Yancey. And those two attorneys, they're great. They handle our family law. They do our housing. They're usually, one of those attorneys are usually in our Burnsville office.
Okay.
And then they make appointments for like our Spruce Pine office. And the Spruce Pine office is located at Cross Street Commerce Center.
Great.
So we're right inside if you go in where the garden is and just go straight ahead, you'll see our sign right when you come through the door. So we schedule appointments in all of our offices.
Yeah, what an amazing thing to have here. I'm so glad to hear that. That's fantastic. So, so the attorneys that are employed by Pisgah, that's in addition to the pro bono attorneys and the volunteers and all that other stuff, right?
That is correct.
Gotcha.
That's
Wow.
correct.
Yes. With our volunteers, I think, was it over 10,000 hours of time was donated through all of our volunteers and all of our programs as of last year.
Wow.
In 2022, we helped over 21,000 people.
Wow.
And I mean, our priority areas were like housing. We helped 4,159 people.
Jeez.
And safety, helping people escape domestic violence and rebuild their lives, was 7,410. Health,
Those are real numbers.
5,659 people we assisted to help them get health care, which is a program that Maxine does. 1,759 people we helped to increase their basic income with the free tax aid that we offer.
Wow.
So
Yeah, let's talk a little about that, because you mentioned that. That's pretty intriguing. So insurance and tax services,
Yes.
that's kind of your thing, right?
Yes. So the program that I work under is, we call it HEOP, so HEOP, and that stands for Health and Economic Opportunity Program. So the goal and the mission of that program is to help reduce childhood poverty through tax credits. So tax credits meaning the child tax credit, the earned income credit, and then the advanced premium tax credit, which is what helps lower the cost of insurance premiums through the ACA marketplace health insurance.
Gotcha.
So that's what I do. We basically are a VITA site, a volunteer income tax assistance site, and that's where we do income taxes for free. So our limits are significantly higher than a lot of the other programs. So we can actually do taxes for households under $60,000. There's a couple of other exceptions. So like if it's a business and they have employees, then we can't do their tax return. And these are based on IRS regulations because we're registered with the IRS. But as long as their income is under the $60,000 and they don't meet any other restrictions that are out of scope, then we can do their income tax return for free.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people in the Mitchell County area.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In addition, the ACA, that's the Affordable Care Act, which offers people access to health insurance on the marketplace. Those income limits go all the way up to 400% of the federal poverty limit, which is, around 55,000, give or take, with a household of one. For a household of four, that limit is 111,000. So a lot of families can get assistance with their health insurance through that.
God, I need help.
I know, right?
I didn't even know I qualify for that.
I know. You don't realize. I mean, honestly, until I came to Pisgah, I did not realize a lot of this. So part of our program right now is, one, tax season is over. We just finished tax season.
Oh, thank God! I bet you guys are so relieved.
I know, yes. But the thing about the HEOP program is we actually still do income taxes after tax season. So we call it back tax season, and the goal is to find households and families that traditionally don't file taxes, educate them on these tax credits that they qualify for, and let them know, file their tax returns from previous years and get them refunds.
And every time I go to file my taxes, I don't know about you, Josh, but I think about this every time I do my taxes.
I cry.
In addition to weeping.
Yes.
In addition to the weeping, I think to myself, like, there's a lot of people that I'm sure don't I mean, there's people that don't, especially elderly people, don't even know how to operate a computer.
Yes.
How in the world, when everybody, it's like, oh, just use TurboTax. Well, like if you've got, an older person that's never even been on the internet, how do you expect them to do that?
That is correct. And then internet, a lot of the areas, a lot of the rural areas in the Avery, Yancey, Mitchell area do not have access to reliable internet. Right. I mean, there's some places in Avery County that still can't get internet. So a lot of people don't have the internet access to be able to download the software or, use computers and e-file. And we e-file for free. So that's part of our service.
Gotcha.
And then because we are open year round, if someone gets a letter from the IRS, they can bring that letter to us and you review the letter, or we have tax attorneys. So if someone does get the letter from the IRS, we can refer them to our tax attorneys and let them help them with those situations.
Maxine, do you have an idea, hitting back on that same subject, do you have any insight as to how many people that would qualify for a tax return do not file?
Oh, there's a lot more than you would think, to be honest.
That's what what I was thinking. I was like, I bet that number is shocking.
Yeah. So tax law changes every year. I'm sure everybody knows.
No way.
I know, right?
I thought the tax code was simple.
No, it changes every single year. So a lot of people don't realize, the federal government, they gave stimulus amounts, stimulus checks back in 2020. There was 2 of those, and then there was another one in 2021. And a lot of people don't realize that if they did not get those stimulus checks, that stimulus money, then when they filed their taxes, they are eligible to get that money on their tax return.
Yeah.
But if they don't file taxes, then they are missing out on that money. Like, this is literal money that's just sitting on the table waiting to be claimed. Also, for 2021, the child tax credit was fully refundable, and the earned income credit rules was changed a little bit to where people could get extra money for earned income, and they raised the age for the limit of earned income credit. So there's a lot of people that normally wouldn't file and didn't file or didn't know of these rules and didn't claim these credits and get this money.
Absolutely.
So I've encountered, we actually have one taxpayer this year from Buncombe County, and they filed a multiple year returns, and they ended up with a refund of over $40,000.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yes. I mean, this is life-changing money that is sitting on the table waiting for people to claim it. And
that's crazy. If you were just somebody that's so down on their luck and all of a sudden you realize you just had $40,000 just sitting around. That literally. Yeah, me too.
I know.
I probably got some unclaimed money somewhere, I'm sure.
Yes. So this is life-changing money.
Wow.
And this year, the HEOP program did just right around 500 tax returns this tax season, and we got refunds of over $700,000.
Wow.
For our clients.
And people, if I had a dime for every time somebody, you hear people bitch and complain about government entitlement programs or whatever, but in my view, this is what I always said about the stimulus during the pandemic. In my view, look, we're taxed enough. We are taxed enough. If you can take money back from the government that's rightfully yours, do it.
Yes.
Absolutely. And like you say, that could be, literally though, $40,000 could literally change somebody's life. I know plenty of people that if they got that would completely change their whole trajectory.
Yep.
You're talking about the ability to get into a house, which you guys can also help with. You're talking about, actually getting...
reliable transportation.
Yeah, reliable transportation. I mean, you think about that. Somebody that's really down on their luck, that's incredible.
Yeah. It's life-changing money, and there's so many more stories just like that one. You know, I mean, even if it's not that dream story of $40,000, I've had people get, you know, refunds of $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, and these are local families. These are local families that are taking this money and putting it back into, you know, paying their rent, you know, purchasing reliable transportation, buying groceries, you know, buying their kids' school supplies. I mean, this is families that need this money.
Absolutely.
And they're putting it back into the local economy.
Yes, absolutely. This is money that's coming to local Mitchell County families, and they're using this money to, you know, live, to just pay for basic needs.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking, that episode hasn't aired yet, but we got into it with our previous guest on this, talking about how difficult it is to get stuck in that place. There's that place, and I think a lot of people watching this, I know I've been there, I know Josh, you've probably been there. There's that spot you get to where you're trying to do better by yourself. You're working your butt off, you're killing yourself at work, working all the time. You know, you got your kids in a better spot and you're doing well, and part of the reason you're doing well is because you're getting help.
Yes.
You're getting food stamps, you're getting, you know, child care, you're getting all this. Well, then there's this weird imaginary line that comes out of nowhere that if you cross that line, then all of that is gone.
Yep.
And to me, it seems like things like Pisgah Legal, that's there to kind of help bridge that gap, you know? And I think that's critically important. I really do.
I agree with you. But we don't do it alone.
Right.
We collaborate with so many other nonprofits in the area. You know, I mean, we get a lot of referrals from Safe Place, Oasis. You know, I mean, we get a lot of referrals of people that are desperately in need.
Yes, and we send people to other agencies that we work with as well. You know, there's WAMI, there's all kinds of food distributions. I mean, it is, since I started with Pisgah last year, it is insane to me the amount of agencies and organizations that are out there to help people, to help local families.
That's a great point, because that's another thing we got into on the last podcast. Is it's becoming more and more clear to me that we're going to have to create something like a hub where people can go and learn about these things. I mean, me and you are out and about. We hear about things. I didn't know about any of this. I haven't known about 90% of this things, but people have talked about on this podcast. Even Vern with hospice and stuff like that. Like, I really wish that we had a portal or something online somewhere where we could put all these things together, because there's so many of these programs.
There are. Stick around after the podcast. We'll talk about some stuff. We'll talk about some stuff.
There's so many agencies. I've done food distributions, and you know, there's a lot of agencies now that are doing like gardens, and they grow fresh vegetables and they give this food distribution out, you know, and it's not just that old traditional, you know, the box cheese or, you know, the canned stuff.
Right.
This is fresh vegetables, you know, that help people. I mean, and it's so sad, because usually the most healthy food is the most expensive. You know, it's a lot easier to go to the local fast food restaurant or to, you know, open up that can of whatever. And that's a lot cheaper than actually buying the vegetables yourself. But there are so many places and organizations that do offer food services, and that's something that Pisgah tries to refer people to.
Bethany had mentioned the Giving Gardens or whatever.
Mitchell Giving Gardens. I have done some of their food distributions when they had those over last year. I tabled some of those events, and actually I fell in love with the garden space so much that my husband and I built a garden kind of similar, imitating what their garden is. So yes, it is wonderful.
Didn't Harley say that they have a Beuladine like community garden? I think too, don't they? That's becoming more and more of a thing. I like that. It is. I do too. I like that a lot.
I do too.
So here, I want to ask you, before we continue to talk about it, and I want to cover the rest of what we got. I know we've got a lot to cover, but I want to ask you guys, to each of you, and I'll let you both answer. What's your heart for this, and how did it come up?
There is such a need in this community. I've lived here for 15 years, and you see it every day. I mean, there is just such a need. And I definitely have a passion for the law. And I believe that everyone deserves to know what their legal rights are, you know, whether they can afford it or not. You know, because, I mean, we just live in a society where you have to fight. You know, because like you said, they are down on their luck, you know, and sometimes it's just situational, but it happens.
So in you, it was just looking around and seeing people in need, and you have a real heart for that.
Absolutely.
Have you ever been in a situation where you needed help like that?
I grew up in poverty, so yes. And I've also been a victim of domestic violence. So that's my passion.
I gotcha. I understand. Maxine, what about you?
So my background is affordable housing. So I managed some apartment complexes in the Mitchell and Yancey area for 10 years, and then was promoted to a regional director and went all over the place, you know, North Carolina, Virginia, just everywhere. But then I ended up in Buncombe County. So I was working in affordable housing in Buncombe County, did a lot of good there, but it wasn't for my community. So I am a lifelong Yancey County resident. I, you know, went to Mayland. I went to college at Mayland Community College. You know, I worked in Spruce Pine, multiple jobs. You know, my kids went to school in Yancey County and, you know, did sports in Yancey and Mitchell. It's just, this is my community, and I wasn't helping my community. So as someone in affordable housing, I had come across Pisgah a few times, you know, working with them specifically during the pandemic to try to keep people in their houses or in their apartments. And when I saw this job for this HEOP program where they were basically doing taxes, which before I was in affordable housing, I have a bookkeeping background as well, doing accounting work, and I was like, this is great, this is right in my wheelhouse. This is, you know, working with the numbers, doing taxes, and then just helping my community, helping people that I know, you know, people that I grew up with, people that my children grew up with. So just being able to give the resources that come from an organization that has been in place for 45 years, that started out in Buncombe County, which is obviously a lot larger than we are, but being able to take those resources and bring those to Yancey, Mitchell, and Avery counties is just such a blessing. I mean, it's just amazing to me. So doing that,
you know, me and you have a work history past.
Yes.
You know, we worked on some of the apartments that you managed. It was always one of those things. Every time I saw you work, I was always amazed. You really develop a relationship with your residents doing that.
Yes.
And it showed.
Yes.
It showed.
And I think I did miss that hands-on, going from being, you know, site-specific and then going to the regional. It's kind of like, you know, I only ended up dealing with the complaints. You know, I didn't get to have that hands-on experience and be able to give back. You know, I did a rent-up during the pandemic, which was basically where they take a brand new apartment complex and they rent it to new people, and once again, it's all affordable housing, so it's all low income. So I did that, and that gave me that piece of helping and giving back, but it wasn't in my community, and I just wanted to be able to bring all of these resources here and just be part of that. So to be part of an agency that does so much good, and I have to say, Pisgah is, everybody that I have encountered, they are all so passionate about the work that they're doing. You know, we did a strategic planning meeting, and I got to sit with some of the other attorneys from other areas, and I'm going to say our attorneys are the best. Pat knows. So we have Joe and Michael, and they work out of the Burdensville office, and they're wonderful and amazing, but just everybody that I spoke to, everybody that I encountered, they are so passionate about what they're doing. Every single one of them.
That's awesome.
You know, every employee or every volunteer, just everybody that is involved in this organization is so dedicated to the goal of helping low-income families, helping, you know, people succeed, kind of trying to help people raise people up out of poverty and give them that extra foot, you know, give them that little step up that they need. And it is so hard for a lot of people. And I've been there, you know, like we took in 2 kids. So I ended up with 3 kids, went from a household of 3 to a household of 5, you know, in a matter of a day. And, you know, that puts a strain on your finances.
Absolutely.
So going from that and knowing how hard it is to have children and to raise them and, you know, to provide and do everything you can, it is so, so difficult. And I just wish so much that I would have, 1, known about all of the services that are available now, but 2, also wish that all of those services would have been available then when I was raising my kids.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, those refunds of $10,000, that would have went a long way with, you know, paying bills and, you know, putting clothes and shoes and, you know, the extracurriculars that the kids want to be able to do, which helps them, you know, be passionate about school. Just everything.
Well, you know, and you think about that, it's so true. You know, I know I've got 4 kids, and I can't tell you the amount of money I spend. Just you know, we've talked a lot about meeting your basic needs on here, housing, food, you know, those things. But what about if you have, just by virtue of your kids being in school, there's field trips, there's, you know, all these little, I think about every time they do one of these, you know, rah days or whatever, dress up like everything. There's a lot of kids don't have, you know, the opportunity to do that. And I think that stuff is so, this kind of thing is just so important. Yeah. So I see it's got to be very fulfilling to be a part of something like that.
Absolutely. You know, sitting across from a family and being like, hey, so your tax return is finished and you're getting a refund of $6,000. You know, they're fixing to fall out of their chair because this is money that they never
and that really
expected.
Means something to them.
It means something. It gives them, I can't even tell you the amount of good that Pisgah is doing and the amount of the amount of people that we're helping.
That's great.
And just seeing, you know, women of domestic violence, you know, getting their first apartment, being able to put their kids in safe housing is huge. But part of what Pisgah does is when someone contacts our office, they may have one issue that we talk to them about, and we may screen them for that one issue, but we screen them for so much more. You know, it's just the whole time that we're doing that screening, we're checking for other things. What, you know, do you have enough food in your household? You know, do you have health insurance? Have you done your taxes? You know, I mean, we want to know what the full picture is.
Understood.
Because we can refer them to different programs within our office, you know, and there's, you know, they're just amazed.
So it's almost sort of serving as like an aggregate almost as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, we have the social workers that, you know, will help them find housing, will help them with, you know, try to find programs that will help with the down payment. Some people don't have the down payment to even get
that's another
into a housing.
My friend Jody, he works for the USDA Rural Development, and I don't think people have any clue what's available through them. I used one of their loans.
Get him on.
Yeah, and I've talked to Jody. We're gonna have him on at some point. But it's amazing what's, you know, again, there's another thing that very few people know anything about.
Yep, absolutely.
It's crazy.
That's a lot of I've saw a lot of our families from affordable housing, you know, go on to do habitat houses or to do other home ownership programs. The USDA does have a great program where they can offer some really good loans as well.
And through our program, they can apply online. They don't even have to come into the office.
Wow.
They can just go to pisgahlegal.org, fill out an application right online.
Wow.
You know, they're welcome to do that. If they call us, we can screen them, get the information. You know, I mean, they can walk in to any of our offices. So
that's great.
You know, we try to make it our services available.
That's awesome, man. How important is that? And another thing I wanted to talk about to make sure we highlight is you had mentioned before we started wills and like estate planning issues for older people. I've recently just kind of been involved in a situation where this came up, and of course, how many people, you hear they die without a will?
Exactly. We just did a will clinic.
Cool.
I believe it was 2 weeks ago. We did a will clinic in Burke County, and we had a couple of our attorneys and some of our staff that were notaries go and show up, and they completed the wills right there for people,
That's awesome.
So they were able to sign them, you know, and get that done. So I'd like to see something here in Mitchell County.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so important. And we've got a lot of elderly people here, that would be so important.
We also help people sign up for benefits if they're having trouble with filing for Social Security or filing for food stamps.
If they've been rejected for any of those programs, we have benefit attorneys that will help them with those rejections.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You do like Social Security, disability, and stuff. Oh my God, my mom worked her entire life and had a thrown out back from working with, she worked with mentally handicapped, like older adults and stuff like that. And in the time that she was doing that, she threw out her back, whatever. All she wanted to do was be able to get part of the surgery covered. And goodness gracious.
Yeah.
We went through, we were in federal court. Well, it's crazy.
Well, the hearing waiting time, used to be backed up for like a year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hers was. She waited. I think she waited for well over a year to even get the case heard.
Yes.
And then it got denied the first time. Then she had to appeal it again.
Yep.
And it's like, goodness gracious. It's like, yeah, the benefits are there, but it's like jumping through hoops to.
Well, we help with some of that.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah, that's really cool. What a necessary thing that is. Unbelievable.
Well, and the will thing too. Going back to that, I've personally went through. Someone passing away without a will who had a lot of assets. And it was years later, we're still finding stuff. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's a mess. It is such a mess if you die and you've got, businesses in other states and you've got equipment, you've got all this stuff, and a lot of people do. And no one knows.
Especially a lot of old timers. That's the way a lot of people work like that.
Yep.
It's just, that's crazy. This was probably like 3 years ago. I had a friend of mine whose parents died, and they were, it was an accident, unfortunately, but they were like in their, I think they're probably in the early 60s, and and of course you don't think then that's not something that's front of mind when you're in your early 60s, and they both passed away, and it was an absolute nightmare. They were in court, and nobody was fighting with it. It wasn't even about family members fighting with each other. Right. It was about just trying to sort through the mountain of stuff that's in front of you,
Same. No one was fighting over anything. It was just like you said, trying to sort through a mound of stuff.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And you've got a certain amount of time you have to do it in, too. You have to close the estate.
It's almost like working with the government is hard.
Well, we don't do like any estate work like you're explaining.
Right. It's just mostly simple wills and things like that. But
we do like basic needs like power of attorneys, things like that, simple wills, things like that. Nothing that involved because we're using volunteer attorneys.
Yeah, and it's low income stuff. But I mean, goodness gracious, just to have your affairs in order just for a simple funeral and a simple will.
A will in itself
is essential.
So much headache.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much headache.
Oh, well, so if somebody is listening out there and they want to reach out, and I know you mentioned the website, so they can apply directly on the website, correct? Walk in an office, right?
They can walk in one of our offices, yes.
Gotcha.
The Spruce Pine office is not a manned office, so we have the Burnsville office, but they can call and we can have someone at the Spruce Pine office to meet them.
Gotcha. And typically, I know a lot of times when people get into legal situations, it's something that is kind of a time sensitive issue. How do you go about dealing with that? Is that because I think a lot of people don't reach out for help just because they're like, well, I don't have time to do this,
usually when they're screened, they're asked if they have a specific deadline and if it's marked as an emergency, and those people are prioritized.
Like all our domestic violence are emergency cases.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know, I mean, if they have a hearing coming up or they need that legal advice before a hearing, they're automatically an emergency.
Okay.
And then, like Maxine said, as we screen, we find out what those those needs are.
And I know a lot of times that people don't know. Again, this goes back to knowing your legal rights. You know, in a lot of those cases, I know that you can file an extension. So if an eviction or something like that, as long as you get an attorney involved, you can file to have it.
Right.
I don't know what they call that. What do they call that?
An appeal.
Yeah, like an appeal. You file an appeal, and it puts it into where you're not going to get kicked out. You know.
Yeah.
But gosh,
They can always call our main office, which is the 828-253-0406. They can call that number, and they can talk to someone. It's not a machine. There's a person that answers that phone. So.
Gotcha.
And I'll link the information down below in the comments, or not in the comments, but in the description and in the comments. I'm going to link the website and the contact information for the Mitchell, Yancey, and Avery County offices in case anybody needs to get a hold of them.
That's great.
Yeah, and that's, we had Jennifer and Noah both in here from Safe Place, from the domestic violence shelter. And, one of the things that really stuck out that both of them said, actually, was how many people, stay in a bad situation because of weird reasons. We even mentioned animal. They'll stay because of animals. They'll stay because of all this. I would venture to say that a lot of people that find themselves in that situation look at some sort of legal remedy, and that also looks like a mountain to them.
Yes.
And I would say that's probably defers a lot of people from trying to get out of a situation like that. So,
and I actually did listen to that podcast, and I forget the number she said of how many times that a victim will leave the abuser before it finally sticks. I thought it was 7.
Yeah,
it's
7
it was like
times,
6 or 7, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, and that. That is true. I can testify to that. That is true, because you have to build that courage to leave.
Yeah. So it sounds like the domestic violence thing is a real cornerstone of what you guys do. That's probably something that you deal with a lot, right?
We do. We
Domestic
do. That's
violence,
huge.
housing, if
Insecurity.
anybody is being evicted or foreclosed on, absolutely.
Yeah, and we go to the courts and we try to get those records for the evictions so we can, talk to them before they go to court. We try to catch them before they go into court, and they don't know their rights. So, and sometimes they'll just leave the home with nowhere to go.
Yeah, goodness, I've known people that have done things like that, and it's like you say, it's just like you don't know where to tell people to reach out to, but sounds like we have an incredible resource. So one other thing I wanted to talk about, so the immigration stuff, you guys deal a lot with that, and I think you'd mentioned Afghanistan, some people from Afghanistan, right?
The Asylum Project.
Yeah, okay.
We got a grant for that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, we just got Pisgah Legal. Like I said, we're a nonprofit, so all of our funding is from a very diverse variety of sources, grants and different funds. So they actually just did the Afghan Asylum Project and recently got some extra funding for that. So this is where they helped some of those individuals with housing. They just offered them a tax clinic. Any of them that needed their income tax returns done, they did that as well. And then we have an entire immigration department in almost every program that we have. We have bilingual advocates that speak multiple languages. And then, of course, there's a language line that we can use if we need someone to translate a language that none of our staff speaks.
And we have the Justice for All project, which helps the immigrants become legal.
Okay.
So they can get out of poverty
Right.
and become citizens.
Yeah.
So
Imagine
we work
that.
with them.
It's like that's a real solution to an actual problem.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. I love real solutions to actual
Me
problems.
too. So many times I think we especially when it comes to that immigration issue, we run. It's like you're running. I feel like the federal government chases its tail in a circle on that issue.
Well, it's so politicized, and both parties pander to their crowd and their camp just with their talking points.
Right.
And anytime that happens, nothing ever gets solved.
Well, it just seems like to me that stuff like that is just such an easy fix. It's
Yeah.
like these people want to be legal. They don't want to have to watch
Right.
their back all the time.
Right.
You know, I trust me. I've known enough of them to know that that's not the case. And they're good people,
Yeah.
hardworking people, religious people, people that want to contribute to the community. How about offer them a way to citizenship? It's crazy. And don't make it something where you have to wait 100 years. Make it something streamlined. But it's like
costs
almost like the government
$25,000.
is not efficient as any at all.
The government not efficient? No. No.
The other thing is when you have someone that, and this just happened last week in our Burnsville office, that comes in that doesn't speak English,
Yeah.
that is a victim of domestic violence. And you want to be able to talk to that person. We have bilingual staff that can talk to those people immediately. I make one call, they're on the phone with someone.
Yeah.
They want help. They're good.
Right.
Like you said, they're good people. They're hard workers, but sometimes they're just in a bad situation
Sure.
and they just need help.
Everybody finds themselves in a bad situation from time to
Exactly.
time, regardless of.
And that's what we struggle with the most. Pisgah Legal struggles in the AMY communities because we can't get the word out. We need to reach those rural areas and let people know that we're here. We're here to help. We have these programs.
Well, hopefully we can be a small part of that. I think this is so very important.
We appreciate that. Man.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things you touched on too, I thought was really cool, is you'd mentioned the expungement stuff.
We have an expungement program for people that have charges that prevent them from housing and work.
They just had a partnership with Duke University, where they actually got over 30 records expunged, which is something that would take one of our attorneys, years to do. But they had a bunch of the Duke Law students come in, and this was done in Buncombe County.
Yeah.
And it was in partnership with, of course, the DA's office. But they had over 30 records expunged, and then there was, more that the DA's office was working on as well. So we're constantly looking for partnerships where we can basically help the community, and I would love to have something like that come to this area.
Yeah, that would be cool. And explain why that matters, why the expungement thing matters.
So coming from housing, a lot of people screen for criminal backgrounds, and this screening is for housing, for employment. I mean, there's so much. And then even for driver's license, I was saying earlier that there was a client in the Amy counties that had been without their driver's license for over 30 years. And one of our attorneys actually got them their driver's license back after 30 years.
Wow.
I mean, it's just amazing, how something as simple that we all take for granted can basically just change somebody's life.
Well, and you think, you're not raised in a decent household, you grow up in poverty, you of course get in trouble with the law when you're in your teens and 20s, then you try to go make something yourself, you turn yourself around, and then it's like beating your head against a wall.
It gets held against you.
Yeah.
You can't get a decent place to live. You can't get a decent job that pays. I mean, so yeah, it's a constant hindrance.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I've known people that it's that case, and it's like they can't ever get, unless they just do it completely themselves, that you can't ever get a foot up on anything. It's almost like it just keeps people down. And I feel like there's so many things in the government, that we talk about. All this stuff is so complicated, and a lot of people, I mean, I'm a general contractor, so I'm familiar with, contract wording and legal stuff, and I was, at least minorly familiar. And it's like Chinese to me.
It's a different language altogether.
It is a different language altogether, and I'm sure it's probably intentionally kept that way a little bit.
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But again, it's one of those things you can easily see how people they get to a point, and going back to that place where you lose all your benefits too. It's like it's one thing right after the other, and you can't ever get a leg up on life. And I feel like so many people get stuck in that.
It would be nice if, as far as like losing your benefits, the amounts, if like there was some kind of graduated system, where if you don't go $1 over the limit, you don't lose everything, because that's where it really screws people, and that's where really a lot of people wind up getting in troubles, because they have to stay under a certain income level to keep their benefits, so they won't work as much.
Yep.
Or they'll
take a job under the table.
Yeah, they'll do certain things to stay under the income limit, because if they make $1 over the income limit, they've lost
so
$5,000 worth of benefits, that they have every month. Or, that's a random number, but you get the point. Kind of.
Yeah, they lose so much, and I've seen it happen so many times. Working with people that have affordable housing, like someone's Social Security income goes up, 2%, and then their food stamps go down $5. Their Medicare goes up $10, and their rent goes up $5. I mean, any bit of that raise is gone. Yeah. Every bit of it. And I mean, it is a constant struggle, because and it's so hard for people to get out of that, and that's why so many of these programs help. They help people. And, we didn't mention this earlier, but we do have benefits attorneys. So any of the people that do get those large refunds, our attorneys can help them navigate what to do with those refunds and how to help.
That's important.
And, like I said earlier, anyone that does get denied for, disability or Medicaid or anything of that nature, we do have benefit attorneys that can help them with that, as long as they qualify and meet those limits.
Do you guys do like classes and things like that, for like financial planning classes and things?
Actually, our tax attorneys do have some funds, some grant funds that they have been given specifically for community education. Yeah. So they do have different programs that they offer. I don't know about any of the other attorneys, but I'm sure there's something between all of the caseworkers and the programs.
I know when I was going through with the USDA getting my first home loan when I bought my first house. Again, I'm a general contractor. I thought I kind of knew about like real estate and mortgages and credit scores and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. You had to go to the classes, so they sent me to it, and I came out of there and I was like, wow. I'm dumb as hell. I thought I knew something. I didn't know anything. I learned all kinds of stuff from that. So like financial planning classes and things like that are massively beneficial. I learned the hack to building a credit score. I know that if you know that hack, you can change your credit score in a year. You can get it up 300 points in a year if you really want to, if you set it up right. It's crazy, and it's just all that is just knowledge that people lack.
It is. Well, like disputing things on your credit score, you can do that. A lot of times they'll come off.
You can also do what's called rapid rescoring.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
I used to be a mortgage broker, so I'm pretty familiar with cleaning up people's credit.
There's all kinds of stuff you can, and unless you know, and I had a thought. It's gone now, but
there is an agency that is out of Buncombe County that offers those services. It's called On Track. And they do offer some of those services in I think a lot of the same counties that Pisgah Legal offers services in.
I think that might have been who I went to for the USDA.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say now. I really wish we had and I know Malin probably does offer something similar to this, but an entrepreneurship class or a investment class, because I own rental properties. I'm a real estate investor, and the way I learned how to do that was through podcasts, listening to podcasts.
Yes.
Bigger Pockets podcast. I'll shout them out.
Shout
now.
out.
Check them out if you want to learn how to invest in real estate. They're an amazing resource. But podcast is how I learned how to do pretty much everything that I do. It's crazy, but if there was...
It's almost like knowledge is power.
Yeah, it
Right.
is.
It is.
So
Right.
Malin does have the Small Business Center, and they
Okay.
do offer a lot of classes through the Small Business Center. And most of those classes are free.
Now, through Pisgah, I am part of Leadership Avery, which I just went to Malin today.
Yes.
And they explained all those programs. And
Oh, wow.
there is a huge list of programs through Malin, and they are all free.
Yeah.
So definitely check them
That's
out.
awesome.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
See, the amount of resources in this area that people just don't know about, it's mind-boggling.
It is.
So, yeah.
It's beginning to make me mad almost. Hey, if you'd have known how many times we've sat here, and I really think I know like what goes on or what's available, and people ask me these things all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just,
I know it.
we've got to
What is
fix
good,
that.
though, is that all of these nonprofits are coming together. You know,
It seems that way.
it does
Yeah.
seem that way.
more and more.
More and more.
Yeah,
We're
they're-
seeing it.
Yeah, more and more the agencies are reaching out and trying to,
Make the
partner and make sure, that if we don't offer that service, we want to make sure that you can get that service somewhere else.
Yeah.
We have a list of resources, that we go to help however we can. Maxine and I both do presentations throughout the county.
Yeah.
We've been to DSS, we've been to the school board, wherever we can go to educate people about our services. That's what we try
Anything
to do.
we can do to let residents know or let people know that Pisgah Legal is here in the Avery and Mitchell counties, and that we are hoping to let people know all of the services that we offer and just help people as much as possible. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so...
I'm glad y'all are here.
Yeah,
I had no
I am
idea.
too.
Had no clue. When Chase told me he had booked y'all from Pisgah Legal, I was like, okay, what's that?
Well, see, that's it. I mean, we've barely scratched the surface. We talked about the taxes, but we have the ACA program where we can get health insurance.
Yeah.
Anyone that doesn't have health insurance, give us a call. We have a Medicaid Ombudsman program that runs out of Pisgah, and that we assist with. So they help people that are having issues with Medicaid. If something gets denied.
Right.
I mean, there's so many programs and so many resources out there.
Gosh, that's important too. How many
yeah.
people probably would qualify for health care that
Don't know it.
don't know it?
Yeah. And see, Medicaid is...
I gave up on the ACA thing. I was just like, I haven't even checked. I probably need to talk to you.
And see, it's changed so much since it first started.
Yeah.
This last year was open enrollment 10, and the rules have changed. So they've actually fixed the family glitch, which is something, like me as an employee, I get offered health insurance, and because I get offered health insurance, my spouse wouldn't qualify for health insurance on the marketplace with the premium tax credit, which helps reduce the cost.
Yeah.
And because of that, they would go without health insurance, or if I add them to my plan, it's so much more.
Yeah.
Because, most employers pay a percentage of your health insurance,
Right.
but they don't pay for the family or for the spouse.
Yes.
So, and that's something that's been fixed. So, and then North Carolina previously didn't have the Medicaid expansion.
Oh, that's
but knock on wood, that's went through approval through the government, and now it just needs to be added to the budget. So many more people are going to qualify for Medicaid.
Good.
The federal government is talking about offering health insurance for DACA people, which were previously excluded from Medicaid and from the Affordable Care Act. So with all of these programs and all of these fixed, there's no reason why anyone should ever go without health insurance. And as someone that has been without health insurance and has struggled with, like, okay, I'm sick. Do I go to the doctor? Do I go to the hospital? What do I do? How is that going to affect me financially?
Yep.
Like, that is huge to have to deal with figuring out when to go and when not to go, and how is that going to affect you? Because I worked part-time for years, and most part-time people don't get offered health insurance. And little did I know, I would have probably qualified for health insurance on the marketplace, and I just didn't know it.
Well, and so many people are one catastrophic illness away from complete ruin. And there should not be such thing as medical bankruptcy. It should not exist, as far as I'm concerned.
I am a hazardous tale. I'm going to tell you right now, back in 2018, I slipped on ice and broke my arm. And I broke it in two places. One of the bones come through the skin, and the other one popped out of place and was dislocated.
Oh, wow.
My husband drove me to the hospital, and I had to be taken into surgery, and my medical bill was $40,000.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
And it was just for the hospital and the stay and the surgery. And had I not had health insurance at that time, and lucky for me, I was on my husband's plan, it would have been horrendous trying to figure out what to do and how to cover that. Yeah. And accidents are out there. Anybody could fall at any point in time and break their arm or twist their ankle. Yep. You just never know what's going to happen. And I think Pisgah has 4 out of 5 people qualify for plans under $10 on the marketplace. So it's amazing.
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Yeah, I think about that all the time. Like, I don't have health insurance. I think
you
about
need health insurance.
I know.
You have to get it. You need it.
It's so expensive for people our age.
Yeah, it is it is. But
I almost feel like 30-somethings are like carrying the burden of the Affordable Care Act, don't you?
Well, even through my employer, my health insurance is my biggest expense monthly.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
Yep.
See, and if your health insurance isn't affordable, then you would qualify for health insurance through the marketplace. So once again, to get that help, you can go to pisgahlegal.org, or you can call our direct line for the HEOP program, which is 828-210-3404. I think it's 1 for health insurance and 2 for taxes. And we can just give you general information and educate you. So we are what you would call navigators that help you navigate the marketplace and healthcare.gov. And also we are available year round. Cool. So a lot of the other agencies that do this, they for taxes and for health insurance, they're not available year round. We are. We will help people year round with their questions, if they get a letter, if they need assistance, whatever. And then another thing is a lot of local insurance companies are brokers. So they will sign you up for health insurance, but they get a commission from that. So they only offer you a certain amount of plans. So on the marketplace, I think this year alone for North Carolina, there was over 140 plans. So we help people filter through those plans based on what their needs and their wants are. So, some people want a low copay. Some people want a low premium. Some people want low maximum out of pockets. So based on what they want, we help them filter through those plans. And we offer every one of the plans that are available, not just one specific insurance company, because we do not receive a commission. We're unbiased.
Okay.
So I think last year during open enrollment, I can't even remember how many people I served, but I know that I got just over $40,000 in premium tax credits for people in Western North Carolina. Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then I didn't give you any numbers for taxes, but for 2023 tax season just in Mitchell County, we got refunds of $23,000 for local residents.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
No. No.
Nobody knows.
Sorry.
And our programs are constantly changing depending on our grants and what that grant covers.
Yes.
So, you
So
know.
where do a lot of the grants come from? I guess a lot of them are government grants. A lot of them are philanthropy and things of that nature.
We have a diversity of grants.
Gotcha.
You know, we
Gotcha.
also have a lot of private donors. You know, we depend a lot on that as well. Whenever our leaders first started this company, one of the things they didn't want to do was be stuck to certain criteria where they can only do certain types of law. The passion was to be able to help in all these different areas.
Gotcha.
So that's the drive behind that. So our funding is just diverse.
Gotcha.
You know, it's state, it's federal, it's private funding, it's grants, you know.
Donors.
We have a lot of donors.
Yeah, volunteers that
And we're
volunteer their
thankful.
time.
And I know I was looking on the website. You guys got a great portal for people that would want to donate or volunteer their time.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We are so thankful for our donors and our volunteers. I mean, we couldn't do this job without them.
Absolutely. We have so many volunteers in the HEOP program that, you know, do taxes and help us with the taxes, but help us with, you know, ACA enrollments. And we would love nothing more than to boost our clientele in this area. You know, like right now, we don't have enough clientele to justify keeping the Mitchell County office open. But if somebody wants to come and volunteer their time and keep that office open, you know, 5 days a week, or if we could just get the word out and let people know what we are doing.
You don't necessarily have to be an attorney or a paralegal or anything like that. That not to just
We
be an
train.
aggregate of
Yeah,
We will train our volunteers.
If someone is just interested in, you know, doing taxes or learning taxes, or, you know, just wanting to help us answer phones, or, I mean, there's like a variety of stuff. We have different volunteer coordinators in the different programs that, you know, if anybody is interested, we would love to have our volunteer coordinators talk to them and find the program that's best for them. Yeah.
And Jim Barrett is our executive director. He's amazing. His passion for this company is something I've never seen. I mean, he is just so passionate about helping people. And Jackie Kiger, she's our chief operations officer or something.
COO.
Yeah, exactly. But she's great too. I mean, she was so excited to see the Medicaid expansion come through.
It's something that Pisgah Legal has been advocating and hoping would happen for a long time. We've seen, as far as with the health justice part and the ACA, where we've seen so many people fall into that Medicaid gap.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are without health insurance.
So you guys do advocacy as well. You know, you mentioned you went to the school board and to, you know, county
do.
commission and stuff like that. So it's part of it's advocating on behalf of these things. I got it. That's really cool. Goodness gracious.
Yes, and we have a new program that's started over in Buncombe County. I think it's where they help with other nonprofits that are starting out. They're trying to prioritize, obviously, prioritize it with new nonprofits.
Gotcha.
But the goal is to just help the community as a whole. So they have so many different programs. I can't even begin to fathom all of them and talk about all of them.
I jotted a few down here before we started, and the list just kept growing and growing and growing. And
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And in the winter, we even had some utility assistance programs as well. So
That's good to know for
Yep.
people. That's huge.
And back during the pandemic, they had a bunch of funds to help with rent from the government as well. They was helping with that too.
yeah, so our programs are changing, you
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
ever changing.
HEOP has a program where we help people get ITINs, which is basically a number that they use in lieu of a social security number. So we can help with that as well.
Jeez. It's crazy that all this stuff is even needed.
Yeah.
I know.
To be honest with you, but it's
But it
so
is.
difficult.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I know even, you know, it intimidates me even, you know, when I'm applying for childcare for my kids or something like that. You can imagine if you're, I just think so many people fall in that place where you just don't know where to turn. And when you don't know where to turn and you're facing all this just a mountain of BS in front of you, and it all just looks down, and a lot of people just shut down. That's where people I feel like that's where they fall off the cliff.
Well, they're looking at, an exuberant amount of money that they can't afford out of pocket for a lot of these services. So, they just say, all right, well, that's it. I ain't going to do that, or I'm not going to worry about it or whatever, and it just gets brushed under the rug because they can't afford it. So it's really good to know that that's out here. It really is. Thank you both so much for coming tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So
thank you for having us.
So let's go over the website, and we'll link all this stuff down below, definitely for sure. But if somebody wanted to know where they could go and seek services, if they wanted to know where they could go to volunteer or donate or anything, what's the one spot where we're going?
PisgahLegal.org.
Gotcha.
It has everything there, just the tabs at the top. Just click those. It'll have the volunteer information. It will have donor information.
And there's not a specific page for the Mitchell, Avery, Yancey counties.
There is not.
You just apply, and they'll reach out to you.
And they can apply online if they need our services. Any of our services are available online.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. This has been awesome. Yeah. Like I said, it blows my mind that every time we sit down to do one of these, you learn.
Me too.
I'm flabbergasted, honestly. It's really getting kind of redundant at this point. It's amazing.
Well, it is, but I was like, when you
this is what you have to do.
I was like, what do they do? I have no idea, no clue. Y'all were a thing. So. No, it's awesome.
That's great.
Really thank you so much for having us. It's so good to see you again, Chase.
Absolutely. It's good to see you too, dear.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely have to have you guys on. Me and Josh, I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Getting a portal together where we can do all this. And we'll definitely reach out to you guys again. So, anyway, guys, thanks for hanging in there with us and doing the podcast. And Josh, you want to close it out for us?
Yeah. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Please share this far and wide. We want to thank our sponsors again, Moondust Lounge, Big Al's Pack and Ship. Go check them out. We've got some giveaway stuff that we're going to be doing here pretty soon with a couple of our sponsors. Chase, I'm going to talk to you about that after the show.
Sweet.
But yeah, please like this video, share it far and wide. If you need any of these services, link down below is Pisgah's information. You can go to their website and get all the information you need on how to get started. Thank you all for watching. We love you all. Have a great night.